フェデラーが今年実に11年ぶりに来日。カムバックへの思いからラケットのこだわりまで、テニス界の生きる伝説がワウワウのカメラの前でたっぷりと語った。
For yourself, did you have any anxiety or like worry that you ever come back to the level that you were playing?
Not too much, to be honest. When I had surgery last February, it was a different story because I never had surgery before that. I didn't know how my knee was going to react. I mean, it happened on a very simple movement, you know, filling the bath for my kids after the semifinals of the Australian Open against Djokovic. At that moment, I didn't know how bad it was when I heard I had to have surgery. Of course, there were doubts because I just didn't know what lied ahead of me. I knew rehab, I knew I had to have crutches, but then again, are you going to ever be 100%? You're not sure. When I took the 6 months off after Wimbledon, I felt like, you know, if I take sufficient rest, I should be okay, you know, and honestly, I stayed positive throughout. I didn't miss the tour too much. Until I really could play again at 100%, and I was in practice. I was like, you know what, now I started missing it. But then the season was over and nobody was playing anyway. So it was an interesting process, you know. I had a lovely time with my family in one place for a longer period of time. I could travel wherever I wanted to go. It was a lot of fun. I actually kind of enjoyed it. As crazy as it sounds, I had a great time, and I think that was my idea as well, that when I did come back to the tour, you know, this year, that I was going to be refreshed, rejuvenated, almost like free in my head, and play that way as well. And I was able to pull it off in the biggest matches this season at Wimbledon, at the Australian Open, Indian Wells, Miami, and all these tournaments. I played so well. I couldn't be happier about the comeback, of course.
I'm not sure you can tell us everything about it, but did the training change before and after the injury, or is the...
Not too much. I think I'm just a bit more selective even now about which tournaments I'm playing and how I'm approaching those tournaments. For the last few years, I've definitely had to be, it was more about quality than quantity. I practiced my 4 hours a day plus tennis, plus fitness, I mean, when I was, you know, 18, 20, 22, 24. But now that, you know, I'm getting older, unfortunately, I also have to be a bit more careful, and I know if the match goes long or I have to play many days in a row that I can do it, but I don't need to force it really in the practice so much anymore. So I think that's the biggest change that I see from before, really.
While doing the process of rehab and training, did you ever thought again that you're going to ever win the Grand Slam like you did, Australia and Wimbledon, unbelievable, two in 1 year?
I mean, I think yes, I probably did, because I did. Otherwise, I probably would have stopped playing if I believed I could not beat the best anymore, which means also winning the biggest tournaments. It goes hand in hand, because you're not going to get a free pass to winning a Masters 1000 or a Grand Slam. So you have to be mentally and physically at 100%. So I think if I kept playing, that meant I did believe it. Even with the injury, I did believe that if I did come back, I had a chance. And I proved myself right. You know, all the team worked extremely hard. Everybody believed in me. We did have these discussions, you know, what do you guys think? Do you think I can do it again? And everybody answered the same way. Like, if you're healthy, if you're, you know, playing the right way, if you believe yourself deep within yourself that you can do it, we also believe it, you know, and that's exactly how it came. And it was worth the wait, it was worth the injury. That 4.5 years later I did win another Grand Slam. It was maybe one of my nicest ones in my career, of course.
Do you think it's necessary? Do you always thinking about involving yourself to the next, adjusting tennis to a new, say, era or new tennis?
Yeah. No, I mean, I do believe so. You know, I started playing at such a young age. I was 3 years old, you know, just rolling the ball over the tennis court or over the back lawn at my place. And then later, you know, you play junior tournaments, you hit against the wall for hours and hours. And then you start playing tournaments and you're always improving all the time. But there is a point, you know, in time when you come onto the tour and you start playing 20, 25 tournaments a year. I don't want to say you start stagnating, but the improvements are so minimal that you're almost just happy to maintain and to keep your level of play up. And that comes with fitness and experience and so forth. But I think tennis is like endless. There's so many ways to practice differently in different places with different sparring partners, with different coaches. And then for me also, one thing that changed over the course of my career has been my racket. You know, I played with a different kind of racket throughout. I had a similar racket from 2002 to 2014. But then in 14 I changed my Wilson racket to the RF97 that's here today, and I think that allowed me actually to play more offensive tennis, and I had to almost adjust my racket, my game with the racket together. And I think through all the practices I could do in my injury year in 16, I think it helped me for 17 when I came back, and that's why I can actually maybe enjoy my tennis more than I ever have, because attacking tennis is easier today than it ever has been for me. But you know, looking forward, I'll try to still keep improving, of course, as long as I'm playing.
今回初めて本格的にラケットの開発に参加したフェデラー。そこには超一流ならではのこだわりが。
Well, I mean, number one, it was an honor for me to be asked to design or help design the racket together with the company that I've been with for so long. So that in itself is a big deal for me, because back in the day I was just happy to get maybe a racket for Christmas, you know, or for my birthday, from my parents, and here I am now designing rackets. It's quite surreal. So for me that was a wonderful moment. We met many occasions, you know, all around the world, mostly in Switzerland, to design the racket, and we talked about, obviously, about the head size. I needed to do a lot of testing for that. I was not going to change the string, to be honest, I think, because I was very happy with the strings for some time now, but I wanted to change the paint. You know, they told me they also had this velvet paint, which I thought was quite interesting, so that was an interesting move. And they wanted to highlight, you know, the 3 and 9 o'clock, which I think is a beautiful way now with the whole range of the Wilson rackets, how they made them look, and very iconic, to be honest. And I just thought with the racket we could do less is more, and I like, you know, the balance I take between on-court and off-court, and this should reflect sort of my off-court when I have to dress up in a tuxedo look, you know, how you have the stripe along the side of the pants, and you have the lapels that have a different shine to it. And I thought we could do the same with this racket, and I think the feedback has been wonderful, and I'm happy it's selling great, which I'm very happy, because not only can you play with my racket now, but I've also designed it. So I think, and it exists also in different weights, which I think was very important for me, that juniors could play with it, ladies could play with it, and then also the pros can play with it.
The Australian Open, big change that I saw from my point of view was your backhand. Definitely something to do with the racket, right? Because
I think so, yes. I mean, of course, only through practice and confidence was I really able to then do it. But the racket allowed me to go into that direction, because ever since 14, I started to really come over my backhand more, especially on the return. And when you can do it on the return, which is maybe the most difficult shot to hit, you can then do it in the rally normally without a problem. But you have to recognize the short ball and be able to step in. Before I would just wait, slice it, or wait and run around and then go with the forehand. So the backhand used to be more of a setup shot. But I think definitely once I had this great performance against Nadal in the finals, where you know his wicked lefty serve and the forehand's always going to find your backhand easier than for any other player, I had to step in and come over it. And I think I did it almost to perfection on that day. I don't know if I will ever hit it better than I did that day, but the racket definitely helped me, so I'm very, very happy and grateful.
You have a lifetime contract with your family, Wilson. Tell us, lifetime has been a long time, of course, and what's Wilson to you, and why is it lifetime contract?
Well, I started super early. I've been with the company for so long. First, like I explained, you know, my parents used to buy them for me. Then I had a slight little contract as a junior player, where I would get, you know, a certain amount of rackets a year. So I was very careful. I wouldn't break them. I would take very good care of them. And then, of course, over time, you know, I got better and better, and got to know the company very well. And I knew at one point that I was never going to change brands again, because Wilson's given me all the success I was looking for in my career and more. So I'm very proud to be part of the Wilson fabric and the Wilson family for so long. So it's a wonderful feeling.
今年11年ぶりの来日を果たしたフェデラー。テニス界の生きる伝説が世界のトップを目指すジュニアたちに 貴重なアドバイスを送った。
14歳のテニスに一番必要なことは何ですか？
It's a great age to improve. Fitness, tennis, and then willpower. You know, being able to just go out on the court and do it for hours and hours and hours. It's a big challenge, I think, at this age. But it's one where I feel like you almost feel like you're improving every day. So I think it's very exciting. Very important to listen to your coaches, listen to your parents, because all they want is the best for you usually, you know, and just enjoy it as well. You know you're going to lose a lot of the matches as well, but learn from them. They can hurt, that's fine. You know, I cried a lot when I was 14. Every match I lost, actually, I cried. So if that happens, I guess it's okay. But because of it, try to win more than you lose. But try to, I think most important is when you do play at 14 is that you play like you were maybe 18. You know, because now winning and losing matters to make you happy or not. But actually, if you want to become a professional tennis player, try to play like you're at 18. And then you can really, you've already been practicing that for 4 years. So your entry into the world tour will be much, much easier. You're welcome.
僕と同じ12歳の頃には、フェデラー選手は19ものグランドスラムを獲得する偉大な選手になると思ってましたか？
No, definitely not. I thought that I was hoping to be one day top 100. I had very normal, humble goals, dreaming of playing at Wimbledon, you know, joking that I would win Wimbledon, knowing that it will never be true anyways. So I was living this kind of a life, and at 12 I really actually was deciding if I should play tennis or soccer. So I chose tennis over soccer, thankfully. It's really only when I won my first Grand Slam that I thought maybe I could win my second or maybe 5, but they were still already comparing me to beating Sampras's record, which I thought was totally absurd back at that time. But it was definitely interesting times at 12, still in school, of course, you know, trying all the very best to get through in school. That was my priority, really. My parents explained how important school was for me always. And then only then came tennis. So tennis was like a, you know, second. And I was probably playing 3 or 4 times a week at the time, and maybe some tournaments on the weekends. So I wish you all the best. Good luck, guys.
ジュニアたちの質問に真摯に答えたフェデラー。
Yeah.
そして来シーズンへの思いを語った。
The 20th motivation for you for another Grand Slam? I know it's a little bit early to ask, but
No, I mean, look, I'm definitely in some ways thinking ahead. You know, how is the off season going to be for me? I know I'm going to start the year at the Hopman Cup. Again, like I did this year, I think that was a great preparation for me for the Australian Open. The Australian Open being one of my favorite tournaments, being defending champion maybe would create extra pressure, but I don't see it that way. I see it more as an opportunity, knowing that under those situations, that circumstances, with the types of balls, the court speed, the Rod Laver Arena, you know, the climate, I can play very, very well. And especially from the start of the season, it's very important to get off the right way, right start, and that then can translate into much more success for the rest of the year. So I just have to make sure I get a good off season in with a lot of practice, work extremely hard, and remain healthy, and then I think good things can happen for me next year again.
okay, guys, I forgot to ask one question, so I have to get back to the when you come back. What was your motivation and core?
Yeah, I think it was about experiencing that winning feeling again, you know, hearing that sort of game, set, and match, hearing the roar of the crowd, not knowing how the match point's going to play out, not knowing how you're going to react. Are you going to fall to the floor? Are you going to jump up and down? Are you going to run around like crazy? What are you going to do? And that feeling of goosebumps and just that I worked extremely hard for to relive it again. So I'm happy I was able to. I had it in some other matches, of course, over the course of the last few years when I didn't win Grand Slams. I don't only get it at Grand Slam finals, but it's very gratifying, you know, in the center of attention, in the public eye of any Grand Slam to do it right then in front of the world. So that was a great feeling, and you know that's why I'm still playing, not only just for the Slams, but it's definitely also a big part of it.